Hi and welcome back to Guitar Club. Today I'm going to go through the anatomy of a guitar. For those of you who are new to playing the guitar, I know there are lots of these guides on the internet, but let's do our own so that we can make sure that you've got an easy access to one. So we'll take a guitar. This is a basic electric guitar. So starting at the top, we've got the tuners, sometimes called machine heads, used for tuning the guitars. There are various different types. These are non-locking ones, but there are also types which you can lock to hold the string in place. These are locking tuners. You can see these little wheels on the back allow you to lock the string in place. Now that doesn't mean to say you don't need to keep tuning the guitar, but it holds the string in place so that you don't need to wrap it lots of times around the tuning peg. So those are the two basic types of tuners. From there, this is the headstock of the guitar. Here you can see the truss rod cover. The truss rod cover gives you access to the truss rod, which is a rod which runs down the whole length of the neck and allows you to adjust the straightness of the neck. I'll put some diagrams on here so you can see what I mean by that. From the truss rod cover, the next thing is the nut. That's this piece here. So the nut holds the strings in place and regulates how far they are off the fretboard. These series of slots in the nut will be filed to get the right height so that the strings don't buzz when you try and play them. From the nut we go onto the fretboard. This is a thin slab of wood generally, in this case rosewood or some sort of substitute, sometimes laurel, all sorts of different types of wood are used for that. So that is where you press your fingers to make the notes, and each note is separated by a fret. That's these wire pieces here. This is made from fret wire, and the length of these will vary depending on the scale length of the guitar. Different guitars have different scale lengths. This one has a scale length of 24 3/4. The scale length is the distance from the nut, which we've just shown you, down to the bridge, which we'll come to in a minute. So this is the bridge here. Some of these spaces in between the frets will have markers on them to indicate the position on the fretboard. It's common to have single dots on the 3rd, 5th, 7th and 9th frets, and then on the 12th fret, which gives you an octave above the open string, you have 2 dots usually, just to indicate that that's the 12th fret and that is an octave above the open string. Then you go back to single dots here on the remaining part of the fretboard. The neck joins the body in 2 separate ways. This guitar has a set neck, which means that the neck is glued into the guitar. So you can't remove the neck easily on this guitar. Some guitars will have a bolt-on neck, commonly things like Stratocasters, Telecasters. You can see there's a plate there and 4 screws which hold the neck in place. So that's the various parts of the neck. And then we come onto the body of the guitar, this bit. So the shape of the bodies will vary. This is what you call a double cut, which means there are 2 cutaways, one at the top and one at the bottom, to allow you access to the fretboard from both sides. Some guitars will have a single cut. This is a single cut guitar. So you only have 1 cutaway, and then the top bout of the guitar is rounded off there. Either of these shapes can give you reasonable access to the fretboard, so it's really a matter of taste which you prefer. So that's the body of the guitar. In an electric guitar you obviously have pickups. This is the neck pickup because it's nearest to the neck of the guitar. This is the bridge pickup because it's nearest to the bridge of the guitar. Sometimes you'll have a center pickup as well. These types of pickups will vary a lot depending on different guitars. The 2 basic types are humbucker, that's these type. You can see there are 2 parts to the pickup. That's 2 separate coils, and they're designed to reduce background noise or hum, and that's why they're called humbuckers. You also get single coil pickups like the Stratocaster. Those just have a single coil of wire around a series of magnets. They are prone to noise from hum from electrical equipment. However, they do sound clearer and slightly treblier generally than humbuckers. So there's another choice for you to make as to whether you want single coil or humbuckers. There is a whole range of different types of pickup, which would be a completely different video, I think. But that's the two basic types on electric guitars. Most of the features that we've talked about are also present in an acoustic guitar. Some of them don't have a truss rod in the same place. They will usually have an adjuster inside the body which you can get to through the sound hole. Some cheaper ones may not have a truss rod at all, but all of the other elements of the neck are similar. And obviously with an acoustic guitar you have a sound hole, the body. On an acoustic guitar you normally have a different type of bridge. This one has probably a nylon bridge here and pins which hold the strings in place. A lot of electric guitars with pickups will have this plastic area which is called a scratch plate, which holds the pickups in place and keeps the wiring tucked out of the way. Most electrics will also have a selector switch to allow you to select which pickup you're using. On the Stratocaster, you've got a 5-way switch on this one. This position all the way forward is the neck pickup. The next one gives you the neck and the middle pickup. The middle position just gives you the middle pickup. The next position gives you the middle pickup and the bridge pickup. And the final one just gives you the bridge pickup. From that we come to the bridge. Again, quite a lot of variation on these. On the Stratocaster you've got a series of what we call saddles, which is where the string sits. The strings then go through the body and are attached to a block here at the back, which is covered by this plate, and that's called a trem block, because on a Stratocaster you've got a tremolo on. This varies the tension of the strings when you push it and allows a warbling effect where the pitch will be affected as you push the rod. You've got the one volume which will affect whichever pickup you've got selected. You've got two tone controls, one for the neck pickup, which is this one for the middle pickup, which is the back one. The bridge pickup on a Stratocaster doesn't have its own tone control. It's always fully on this particular wiring, but people might change that wiring, so they're not all the same. On other guitars, like a Les Paul style guitar, where you've got two humbucker pickups and you've got 4 controls here. These are quite simple. We've got one volume control for the neck pickup, one volume control for the bridge pickup, one tone control for the neck pickup, one tone control for the bridge pickup. And obviously on this one we've got the pickup selector switch up here, which is a 3-way selector. Up is the neck pickup, middle is both pickups, and down is the bridge pickup. On a guitar like a Les Paul, you have a 2-part bridge effectively, because you've got this, which is the actual bridge, and then you have a tailpiece which anchors the strings in place, held down by bolts into the body. The bridge has a number of saddles, that's these little things here, and they allow you to, they move backwards and forwards in order to intonate the tuning of the guitar. The intonation of the guitar is how it stays in tune as you progress up the neck. If you divide the neck into 2 halves, one half from the nut to the 12th fret, and then another half from the 12th fret to the bridge, that divides it, because what you're going to do is check the tuning with an open string. So on the E string, you pluck the E string, check your tuning until you get it right on the E. You then check it again at the 12th fret. So you hold the 12th fret, pluck the string, look on your tuner and see whether you're still in tune. The intonation will control whether you stay in tune up at the 12th fret. So if your tuning is sharp at the 12th fret, that means that this top half of the string is too short. So you need to lengthen it by bringing the saddle back. There's a little screw behind it which allows you to adjust it forwards or backwards. If your tuning is flat at the 12th fret, then you need to shorten it, so you need to bring it forward. So that's how you set the intonation. So you do that for each string on the guitar, check the tuning at with an open string and then at the 12th fret, and then adjust these saddles backwards and forwards. So just remember, if it's sharp, bring it back. If it's flat, bring it forward towards the neck. On a Les Paul, you've got a series of screws here at the back of the bridge, which moves these little saddles forwards and backwards. On a junior style guitar, which has a wraparound bridge, you have much less control over it, but you can move the whole bridge backwards and forwards from either end. There are little grub screws on these which allow you to move them forwards or backwards. We have solid body guitars like this, which is just basically a slab of wood with control cavities at the back so you can get to the switches and so on, and that will have had a routed out hole for the pickup, and they'll usually drill through from here through to the cavity so that they can push the wires through. So that's a solid body guitar. You also have semi-hollow guitars like this. This has F-holes. These are called F-holes. So either side of this guitar is completely hollow. So there's a big cavity here, another big cavity here, and then there's a center block which runs all the way through, which allows you to mount all of the hardware onto it and supports it. So, and that does reduce some of the feedback. The problem with a hollow guitar is that you get quite a lot of feedback as the vibrations resonate within the body of the guitar. So that's a semi-hollow guitar. You then also have a hollow body guitar. Now this guitar is completely hollow all the way through the body. There's no center block. The disadvantage of that is that you can get quite a lot of feedback from the pickups by the resonance of the body. The advantage is that it sounds different. A hollow body guitar, although people will tell you that with electric guitars all the sound comes from the pickup, to a certain extent pickups are microphonic, so they do pick up from the body of the guitar itself. They act like little microphones, which is where the argument about woods and tone woods and so on comes in, because they will, if you have to a certain extent microphonic pickups, will pick up the sounds from the body of the guitar as well as the sound direct from the strings. So that's a hollow body guitar. The last type would be a resonator. Now this is a solid body with a large cavity cut out in which the resonator has been fitted. The resonator is a cone-shaped piece of aluminium which has a bridge attached to it and causes it to vibrate where the strings go across, and they have a sound of their own. You can hear that. That's just acoustically. So this one is an electric resonator, so it also has a pickup here. So that covers the main body types of guitars. So you've got solid body, semi-hollow, hollow, and this one is a resonator. The other things that can affect the tone of a guitar are the electronics in it. Apart from the pickups, you also have something called potentiometers. These are the volume controls, the business end of these basically. So behind that, inside the cavity, you have a series of potentiometers. These are variable resistors, and the value of those will make some difference to the tone of the guitar. The different values are used to balance the treble and bass reaction of the guitar. So with certain guitars, they will use different value potentiometers, variable resistors inside, to tame the treble or increase the treble response of the guitar. For instance, Stratocasters generally have different value volume and tone pots than a Les Paul guitar. The other thing that does make a difference, probably, lots of people argue about it, is the type of wood. These lower cost ones are then coated with a polyurethane paint, whereas the more high-end guitars tend to be coated with a nitro finish, nitrocellulose. A thinner type of coating, which some will argue will make a difference to the tone. A nitrocellulose finish will age over time. If you look at old Les Pauls, you'll see cracks and various little chips and dings in the paintwork, and that's to do with this nitrocellulose finish, which is a lot more brittle and susceptible to the effects of heat and so on than the polyurethane finishes are. Different guitars will have different fretboard radiuses. A fender radius is generally a little bit smaller. So the fretboard radius is the curve of on the neck. Fender, this is I think a 9-inch radius on this Fender, whereas a Gibson neck for a Les Paul will have a slightly flatter radius of about 12 inches. Again, I'll put a little diagram here so you can see what I mean by the fretboard radius. And that makes a big difference to your comfort in playing the guitar, so which you need to decide. So you may need to try different guitars to find the radius that's comfortable for you. And also the neck carve is the shape of the neck behind the fretboard. So some will have a fairly shallow curve here, not much depth to it, whereas others might have quite a deep curve on the neck, meaning that the neck is quite thick. This is a very good example. This Eastman has a very thick neck in this way. So grabbing hold of it, people will often refer to the thicker necks as like a baseball bat, because it's a large rounded cross section there. And then you have the fretboard radius, which is the radius across the top of it. So people will refer to the neck shapes as a C or a D. So a D would be a neck which has a longer side profile to it, whereas a C would be a more rounded shape. If you imagine a D sort of like that, and a C more like that. So we've talked about the body, we've talked about pickups, we've talked about the volume controls and the switching. Electric guitars will always have an output jack, unless there's some sort of wireless system, but here we've got the Stratocaster one is on the front, Les Paul generally on the side. It'll vary from guitar to guitar. On this, here's the output jack on this one. So that's where you plug in your lead to go to the amplifier. Some guitars you'll see they have panels on the back to allow you to get to the electrics. In this case we've got the volume and tone controls here, and you have a little panel here which allows you to get to those. You've got the strap buttons, which are these metal things here which allow you to fix the strap in place. One there at the bottom of the body and one just above the neck, usually to allow the guitar to hang comfortably when you're playing it. Quite often, even if the pickups don't go through a scratch plate, they will have mounting rings like these, plastic mounting rings, and then you might have a separate scratch plate here to protect the body when you're strumming. So they just stop the body from getting scratched. Quite often people remove these if they don't like the aesthetics of them, but they vary from one guitar to another. On Les Paul type guitars, you usually have bridge and a tailpiece, and the string can either go straight through the tailpiece, threaded through at the back, and coming out at the front and over the saddles of the bridge. Or some of the more basic earlier models also just had a wraparound tailpiece where the strings come in from this end, wrap over the top, and then that forms the bridge here as part of the tailpiece. I hope that was helpful in showing you the various parts of the guitar and the names of the elements. If I've missed anything, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the channel. Thanks again for joining us, and see you again next time. Bye for now.